Some lessons pass through your life lightly, others remain. They stay in the way you now pause before speaking, in the boundaries you hold more calmly, in the quiet choices no one sees but you feel. One evening, with the last golden light resting softly across his desk, Phúc sat down to write about the truths that had stayed with him. And as he wrote, he realized that the deepest lessons do not always shout. They simply keep guiding you long after the moment that taught them has gone. Phúc had been thinking about permanence. Not permanence in the dramatic sense, forever promises, fixed plans, unchanging identities. He knew life moved too strangely for that. He meant something subtler, the things that remain inside a person after seasons change, the truths that continue shaping behavior even when the original pain, confusion, or lesson itself has faded into memory. There were certain things he no longer had to remind himself of every day, not because they were obvious in a casual way, but because life had written them into him deeply enough that they now lived beneath thought. He no longer trusted charm as quickly as he once did. He no longer over-explained peace away. He no longer romanticized exhaustion. He no longer believed every open door deserved his whole heart. These lessons had stayed, and lately, that staying felt quietly holy. That evening, the room was soft with the kind of late sunlight that turns the ordinary world into something almost reflective. The desk, the notebook, the lamp, the cup near the window, everything seemed simple and still enough for memory to arrive without noise. Phúc opened the notebook and wrote, "What lessons have stayed with me?" He answered slowly, "That peace is easier to lose than to rebuild. That repeated discomfort deserves attention. That what I tolerate teaches people how to treat me. That rest is not a reward for collapse. That simple days are not empty days. That some forms of clarity only come after enough pain. That gentleness is worth protecting." He read the page twice. These were not merely ideas. They had become part of how he moved, how he answered certain invitations, how he left certain situations, how he spoke to himself when tired, how he shaped an evening, how he recognized when his own life needed more air, more simplicity, more truth. He turned the page. Why do some lessons stay? Because they cost something. Because they changed the way I see. Because they saved me from repeating myself. Because they became part of my instincts. Because life taught them slowly enough that I could not forget. That last line felt especially true. There are lessons that enter quickly and leave quickly, and then there are lessons that remain because they arrived through enough feeling, enough loss, enough sincerity to carve a place in you. The warm light on the desk deepened toward evening. Phúc realized that lessons which stay with you become quiet companions. They no longer need dramatic language. They no longer need constant affirmation. They just appear in small moments, guiding the hand before the mind fully explains. In the pause before saying yes too quickly. In the impulse to rest before resentment forms. In the decision to leave what has already shown its shape. In the quiet appreciation of a simpler day. That is how deep wisdom often works, not by speaking loudly, but by becoming atmosphere. He wrote a new heading. How do I keep living what has stayed? By respecting simple peace, by trusting quiet clarity, by noticing when old patterns try to return, by honoring what life had to teach carefully, by not abandoning the gentle life these lessons built. He sat with that final sentence for a long time. Do not abandon the gentle life these lessons built. Perhaps that was the real invitation. Not only to remember the lessons, but to remain faithful to the life they had helped shape. The calmer evenings, the clearer boundaries, the slower pace, the refusal to overcomplicate what had become beautifully simple. So he wrote 3 small reminders beneath the list. Protect what took time to learn. Do not return to old confusion out of familiarity. Let wisdom keep the room gentle. The room itself seemed to answer that. It was not luxurious, not dramatic, but it was peaceful, lived in, honest. A place where the accumulated lessons of several years had already begun to leave their mark, not in perfection, but in atmosphere. And perhaps that is what the deepest lessons finally create. Not a flawless life, a more inhabitable one. Over the next days, Phúc returned often to that phrase, the gentle life these lessons built. It helped him see that wisdom is not only something you think, it is something you protect in your sleep, your schedule, your relationships, your pace, your evenings, your self-talk, your willingness to keep life uncluttered enough for peace to remain audible. That is what staying lessons do. They keep shaping the life long after the original chapter ends. The lessons that stay with you are often the ones that cost enough to become part of your instincts. They remain in the way you now pause, in the things you no longer chase, in the peace you protect more quickly, in the quiet, steady life you have slowly learned how to inhabit. A warm room, a notebook, the last light of day touching the page while you realize how much has already been written into you. This is not a small thing. It means life has been teaching you deeply. And if those lessons have stayed, let them keep guiding you. Let them keep softening your pace. Let them keep protecting the version of you they helped build. Because some truths are meant not only to be remembered, they are meant to remain. If this reached you, comment, "I will protect the gentle life I've built." Subscribe for more warm, reflective life stories about peace, healing, and quiet becoming.